Hey guys, hello and welcome to Naveed for Speed. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you this car right here. It's the Suzuki Vitara. Now, previously I drove the Suzuki S-Cross, and the Vitara is built on the same platform as the S-Cross. In fact, both cars are built in the same factory in Hungary. So in today's video, I'm going to be comparing this car a little bit with the Suzuki S-Cross, but in general, I'm going to be showing you around this car. I'm going to be showing you around the exterior, I'm going to be showing you around the interior, and I'm going to take it out on the road to drive to show you exactly what it feels like to drive. Now, let me start by showing you this particular version that I've got. So you can get this car as a mild hybrid or a full hybrid, a self-charging hybrid. The one I have here is a mild hybrid. It comes with a 1.4 litre petrol engine and a 48 volt battery system. So overall, it should provide you with a decent fuel economy. Now, of course, you can also get the full hybrid, which is self-charging as well. And they do slightly differ in terms of how much fuel economy they offer, but I think this particular one is quite good because it comes as a manual. You can get it with a 6-speed manual gearbox, whereas the full hybrid comes as an automatic. You can also get the cars in two different grades or two different trim levels. You've got the entry-level motion version or you've got the ultra version. Now, as I take you around the car, I'll show you some of the differences between the motion and the ultra version. Like, for example, these folding door mirrors. Those you get in the ultra version. And of course, you can also get this car in an all-grip version. That's Suzuki's all-wheel drive system, and the car that I have does have all-grip. But I want to start by showing you the paintwork because this paint is called solar yellow, but I do think it does pop out in this lighting, which is really quite cool as well. Let me show you around the exterior. I'll start with the front of the car as we come towards here. Now, you'll notice that you've got the big Suzuki logo at the front with this grille over here. All this front area has been slightly redesigned, slightly tweaked for this 2025 version of the car, and I think it looks pretty good. You got some gloss black features in there, some chrome features in here, and then as you move towards the side of the car, you can see these front fog lights and the headlights over here. On top of all this, you'll see this bonnet, this clamshell bonnet, which I think does look really good. The whole front end of the car, I think, looks better than the Suzuki S-Cross. I said this when I drove the Suzuki S-Cross as well, and if you do want to watch that video, then you can click this button over here. But personally, I think the S-Cross, the Vitara looks better than the S-Cross, and they have a different purpose, which I'll talk about later in this video. As we keep going towards the side of the car, I want to show you this little feature over here, which is a nod to the original 1988 Suzuki Vitara. And I think that looks really cute. It's a nice little tribute. But let's come down here to these alloy wheels, because you got 17-inch alloy wheels, which you get on both the motion and the ultra version of the car. But in this particular version, the ultra version, you get this sort of diamond cut polished face wheels, which I think look really good because they contrast with the sort of chrome finish and the gloss black finish. Like I said, 17-inch alloy wheels, so that should translate to a bit more of a comfortable driving experience out on the road. As you keep coming towards the side of the car, let me tell you some of the dimensions of this car, because the car is just under 4.2 meters long and it has a wheelbase of 2.5 meters. So it should be somewhat agile. And the car's not that wide either. It's slightly under 1.8 meters wide. So that means driving it out in the city, when you're getting into tight spaces, when you park in the car, it should be quite easy. Let's come further towards the back of the car, because back here you'll see this sort of rear spoiler, that extends out the back. Now, that's a new feature to this 2025 model of the car, and I think that looks really good as well. If you come further towards the back of the car, you can see how far it extends out. I really quite like that. Down here, you'll see these big chunky rear taillights. Again, you've got taillights on the boot lid and on the side as well, and they extend sort of, you can see them from the side of the car. I think they look really, they sort of, they match the entire aesthetic of this car back here. So, you know, with this rear bumper as well, give the car a bit of width. I really quite like it. Down here, you'll also notice this tow bar that you get as well. This doesn't come as standard with the car, but this particular version that Suzuki have loaned me does have that tow bar. Let me very quickly show you the boot, because Back here in the boot of the Suzuki Vitara, you get 362 liters of boot space. You can fold the seats down, the rear seats down with a 60-40 split, and you get over 600 liters of boot space. But one thing that I really do like is the fact that you can actually lower this boot floor as well. So you've got, a little bit more room. You can get things in and out as well. But what else you can also do with this boot floor is, if I lift it up over here with one hand, you can sort of put it in with this arrangement, so you can sort of divide things at the top and the bottom. I don't exactly know what features what I would use that for, but that's quite convenient. And again, you'll see over here this part on the side, which you can just unclip and you can take off, and you've got more room over here as well. Or if you want to keep things separate over there, you can clip this back in over there, and you can have this separate divider area, one on either side. And it is quite easy to do. I'm doing it with one hand as well. You've also got these little bits over here which you can hang stuff off as well, I believe. So overall, I think there's a few features in there which show that this car has been thoroughly thought out, and there's some clever things that should make practicality a little bit better. Now it looks like it's about to start raining, so let me take you inside the car and I'll show you some of the features inside the cabin. So let me show you around the interior of the Suzuki Vitara, because there are a few features in here which you get in the Ultra version of this car, which you don't get in the Motion version. Now, one of the things that you notice immediately when you get into the car are these seats. And so I want to start by talking about these seats, because they come in this Ultra version as leather and this sort of suede material with this pattern in there. And they look cool. They do look quite premium, even though this car generally seems a little bit plasticky in the interior. It seems a little bit more budget conscious, but the seats, they do look premium and they feel quite nice as well. They're comfortable. The suede material does sort of hold you a little bit into place. They're not well bolstered in terms of to hug you, but then again, this car is not intended to be a bit more of a sporty drive. It is supposed to provide you with that little bit of excitement, and I'll tell you a little bit about it when I take you out on the road. But generally, it's a sensible car, and the seats are quite sensible. I quite like that. The rest of the cabin, like I mentioned, it is quite plasticky. You got these scratchy plastics on the door. You got, plastics all around. You got squidgy material on the dashboard over here, and you've got the leather steering wheel, which I'll tell you how the steering wheel feels when I take you out on the road. But in front of the driver, you've got the instrument cluster with the digital display, and you can press this button over here to change what you want to see, what information you want to see on there. And there are quite a lot of different things that you can go through in order to see different information. Now, let me tell you about this screen over here, because this is new. This is a new 9-inch screen for the 2025 version of this car, and it has the same graphics as previous, but it's just slightly bigger now. But I do think it is a little bit slow, because, if you press certain, I'll just put the radio on now, and I'll put the volume down. If I want to change the radio station, there's a bit of a delay from when you press the button. I mean, quite a bit of a delay, actually. And then, I don't know, let's just put this on. See how long it takes. So I'm not a massive fan of that. But one thing that I do like is you get satellite navigation in this car. So that's quite good. Another thing that I do have to mention is there's no volume button over here. There's nothing. I mean, it's there, but I'd prefer it to be like a something that you can turn. It's these touchscreen functions over here, which I don't quite like. As a driver, I've been using the buttons on the steering wheel more than anything else to change those functions, or using the touchscreen. But as a passenger, I can see how that could get a bit fiddly, and you can get fingerprint marks on there as well. But just below there, you'll see the climate control functions. This I do like. This is very intuitive, very easy to use. Well displayed as well. You can see all the features, all the information, your temperature, your fan speed. You can change whatever you need to over here, your modes and all that. You can turn it all off and put it on. I think that's really quite good. And recently it has been quite warm, and I've been making full use of the air conditioning system on this car, which is quite good. It does cool the car down pretty well. The rest of the cabin, you'll see some more features over here, more plastic features, but Suzuki have done really well to add this sort of silver in there with this pattern, which contrasts to the black in the car. And so it does come together quite nicely as a package. And you'll see over there, it says all grip. This is a all grip version of the car. So it has the all wheel drive system. Let me very quickly show you the center console, because down here you've got the gear stick over here, which you can, put into first, second, third, and all the way down into, you have to lift that up to put it into reverse. And just in front of the gearbox gear stick, you'll see a 12-volt socket over here and USB charging port over there. Now, another feature of this 2025 car that you have is that you can connect your phone up wirelessly to the infotainment system, and you've got Apple CarPlay, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Apple CarPlay. That's it. I always get those mixed up. But yeah, you have those. And you have a few different driving modes in this car, which you can get sport mode, you can get snow mode, you can get a few different driving modes, just in case you need it, because at the end of the day, yes, you might not be going off-road in this car, but a day is going to come where it might snow, and it's good to have that function. Let me tell you a feature of this Ultra version, which you don't get in the motion spec, which I like, is this roof, this glass roof over here. Well, you have this cover over it, and you just have to touch this button and it can open, and then you've got this sort of panoramic roof over here, this sunroof, which lets a lot more light in, and if you press it again, you can actually open that. So on a warm day, recently it has been quite warm, that opens. In fact, I didn't know this up until just now, it opens quite a lot because that back panel has sort of gone further back as well. So you've got all this air coming in if you need that. And I think that's really quite cool. Let me very quickly show you the rear cabin, the rear seats, and then I'll take you out onto the road and show you what it feels like to drive. Let me tell you quickly about this rear cabin, because there's a fair few things to talk about here. First and foremost, the seats are quite flat and they're quite firm. Yes, it's good support, but I don't know how people will fare on a longer journey. But I do like the fact that the middle seat back here is quite flat as well. So there's no bulge in the middle that's going to make it a little bit uncomfortable. Although room for the middle passenger's feet might be a little bit restricted back here. Yes, the transmission tunnel isn't as high as you would typically find, but there's not a lot of room to put your feet in there. You've got privacy glass back here, which is really quite good. The door sills are a little bit high. Legroom is okay. I feel like if you do want to sort of lean back a little bit and relax, your knee's going to be touching the front driver and passenger seats as well. Also, talking about if you want to relax, these headrests, they seem quite low, but you can just lift them up by pressing the button on the side and put them appropriately to how you would need it for your height. Headroom, I mean, again, if you're any more taller than I am, you are going to struggle with a better headroom. I imagine all that space has been robbed with that sunroof. So if you go for the motion version, you might be okay. But there is loads of light coming through that sunroof, so that's quite good. I do have to mention one last thing, which is, if I put this down, the middle passenger seat belt is hooked up over here, and you have to pull it out like this, and then they put that on. So then when you do put that seat belt away, you have to sort of, you can't just, unless you want to just leave it hanging there, you have to sort of fold it in and put it away in there. So like I say, for family life, for driving around the city, for shorter journeys, should be totally fine. Let's take this out on the road and I'll show you what it's like. So what is the Suzuki Vitara like to drive? Well, to begin with, when I first got into the car and I first started to drive the car, I was a little bit underwhelmed. And in particular, that was to do with the steering wheel. The steering itself was a little bit fiddly. But as I started to drive the car more and more and started to understand the car a little bit more, I kind of was able to get used to it. I was able to get familiar with it. And I think in the end, it's a pretty cool car. It's pretty nice to drive. I've driven this car over the last few days. I've done over 300 miles in this car since, I think I've had it for 4 days currently. I've done over 300 miles and I think it's brilliant. I've gotten used to all the features of it. And I will start with that steering, however, because the steering wheel, like I mentioned, was a little bit fiddly. I kept having to do a lot of readjustments, but it's not so bad that you have to readjust through the corners. It is easy to predict how much steering input you have to put into corners. It's only when you're on a faster road, on a dual carriageway or on the motorway, that you will have to readjust slightly to keep the car in the lane that you're in. And of course, this car has all the ADAS features as well. So it has lane keep assist and driver monitoring and stuff like this. So it's not, you know, it can help you out through all those. But what I did find on my longer journeys, I did find that this car is more suited, I think, to urban driving. Of course, this car is based on the S-Cross. It's actually built in the same factory as the S-Cross in Hungary. And the S-Cross seems to be that slightly larger car. It's got more space inside. It's probably more comfortable out on the motorway as compared to this, whereas this is, I would say, a little bit more suited to city driving, to urban driving. If you live in the same city that you work in, this will be a great runabout in the city. I think that's what this car is suited to, and you really get a sense of that through its steering. It's easy to park, it's easy to maneuver around car parks. It's got front and rear parking sensors, a rear facing camera in this ultra spec version. So it's a pretty nippy little car. And to add to that, I'm going to mention this gearbox as well, because this gearbox is really nice and easy to use. It's got a reasonable medium sized throw, but it's easy to reach, and it has 6 gears, so that if you are on the motorway, you can stay on the power and you can just cruise along nice and comfortably. Now, I will mention, when the speed starts to climb in this car, you do start to hear other noises. You do start to hear wind noise in particular, but it's noticeable, but it's not irritating. It's not something that will mess up the driving experience. So I think that's really quite good. Now, I did briefly mention the ADAS features, and one of those ADAS features are the driver monitoring system, which occasionally has popped up for me, thinking that I looked a bit tired, when in reality it was just really bright. It's been really sunny these last few days, and the sun was in my eyes, and I think the car was detecting that I am quite drowsy or tired. But the car's able to detect so much stuff, and I do like the fact that the ADAS features in this car aren't that intrusive. In some cars, they will pop up and they'd make really loud noises and bells and bings and whatever else, whereas in this car, it's really quite subtle. It's just a really little, a slight, it's enough that you notice, but not so much that it starts to get annoying. It's like a little tone that you hear and something popping up on the driver display in front of you. So I think that's really good. I've had instances where the cars warn me of the front collision warning, where it thinks that there might be a collision, or you know, it's you might need to brake. But I've also had instances one instance where the car actually broke for me. So it's, again, it's nice to know that you've got the safety features, but also they're not too intrusive into the driving experience. So what is the driving experience like? Well, I'm sat pretty high up. This is supposedly a SUV, but it's smaller than the S-Cross, even though it's built on the same platform. But I feel like I'm sat quite high up, and that's really good. I feel like I'm in a commanding position, but the bonnet in front of me is quite high as well. So you generally do get that sense that, yes, you're in an SUV, but it feels like an ordinary car, not like an SUV. Visibility all around is great. The pillars aren't too large. Over the shoulder visibility is great as well. And it just seems easy. In terms of comfort, yes, when you are going over bumps, you will hear and feel those bumps, but they are damped quite well. So what I mean by that is you'll notice them, but they're not enough to mess up that driving experience. In general, the car's interior, the car's build quality, yes, it's a little bit plasticky and you do tend to feel that, but ultimately it does all come together into a nice driving experience. These seats on this ultra spec are really nice with this sort of suede and leather in there, really comfortable. The bolsters don't hug you. I mean, to be honest, I could do with a little bit more hugging with the bolsters, but I think it should be able to accommodate pretty much anybody. So I think that's really quite good. Like I said, I don't feel any bumps. The seats are relatively cushiony. I won't say they are the most cushiony that I felt, but they are reasonably cushiony. And yeah, in terms of these wheels, 17-inch alloy wheels that you get on this car. So in general, you won't necessarily feel too many bumps through the road. That driving experience isn't as firm as you think. And ultimately, yeah, I think this is a nice car. Like I said, even though the S-Cross is probably one that's more suited to longer journeys, to faster driving, more practical and stuff like this, this is more of an urban car, driving around the city. I think even on the longer journeys, I was totally fine in this car. I did not have any problems in terms of comfort. At the end of the journey, I was still okay. I didn't need to, I just needed to stretch a little bit, but that was because it was a 5-hour journey. So yeah, let me mention the fuel economy of this car, because it is quoted to be 52 miles per gallon. But I drove this car on the motorway, on the dual carriageways, on longer journeys, mostly at close to 70 miles per hour. I have driven it around the city as well. So I would say my driving is not necessarily representative of the best fuel economy that you can get out of this car, because I'd imagine driving at 50 is not as economical as driving at 70 is not as economical as driving at 50. But even with that, I got a fuel economy of 47 miles per gallon. Now, I do think that if I was to drive a little bit more economically, I wasn't constantly driving at 70 and I was driving at, say, 50 or 60, I could probably get closer to that 52 miles per gallon figure. So I think ultimately you've got a good package here, and a nice little easy to drive car, one that's easy to park. I think this would make a great car for driving instructors as well, because of that gearbox is easy to use. So you've got a nice easy car, great value. Which one would I go for? This 1.4 litre mild hybrid. I think this is really good with the manual gearbox. Would I go for the ultra spec or would I go for the motion spec? Well, that just depends on you. If you value those extra features that you get in the ultra spec, it doesn't cost much more. The price of this car, the mild hybrid motion spec version starts at around £27,000. This one that I have is the ultra version. It's got this premium paint on it as well, and it's got tow bar at the back. This one costs around £30,000. So I think it's a brilliant car. I think if you do buy this car, I don't think you've made a bad decision, and I think it looks pretty good as well. So let me know what you think about this car. Let me know if you prefer this over the S-Cross. But ultimately, I hope that I've been able to give you some good advice. Thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you and take care.